Hey, hi, welcome. So today I am going to be getting ready and chatting you through my life lately, I guess. I had a request for an update on how school was going, and I thought that I would update you on a bunch of little things. Have I pre-planned this video? No. So it could be rambly and a little bit all over the place. But if you're okay with that, then I'm okay with that. And yeah, so anyway, so if you're new here and you happen to have found my video, then hello, welcome. My name is Shelly, and I really love books, reading books, and mostly talking about books. I love talking about books. And if you find yourself enjoying this video, I also update y'all, I also do life updates on this channel from time to time, as life can be quite interesting and throw us curveballs and all of that. So if you like that kind of thing, I would encourage you to subscribe. And without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I'm drinking my first fresh cup of coffee this morning. And so I'm really like waking up with you all. I don't know where to start. Let me consider this. I'm going to update you on school first, and then reading things, and then maybe anything else that I can think of that don't fit into those two slots. I will update you on all of it. So I recently started, let me start getting ready. I recently started a new job. That's what I was trying to say. I recently started a new job in which I am teaching 6th grade math and science. I have a class with me all day, so I teach more than math and science. I teach spelling, and I teach a variety of things, but my main gig is math and science. And even with that, it's mostly math. I do teach science. Why am I clarifying? I think I just don't have a direction, and so I'm kind of fumbling my way through, so forgive. So I got this new job at a very small, very, very small school. Teeny. It's little. Not quite as small as the school that I left, but it's just a tiny little school. It's kindergarten through, oh man, it's like K3, 3-year-old kindergarten, all the way through high school. Like all the way through seniors in high school. And I think there's about 500 kids, to give you all kind of a scope of what I'm working with. I teach 30 children, and only about half of those kids are in my homeroom. And so half of the kids I have all day, and the other half I have for a part of the day, so that we can get the previously mentioned math and science taught and learned and helped and coached through and all of that stuff. And when I got this job, part of the perk was that my children could go to the school as well. They could attend the school, and it was at a great benefit for me. Like the cost wise, it costs very little for my own children, my 2 sons, to go to the school. And so we thought it was going to be this brilliant idea that I would be teaching at the school and the kids would be there, and it was going to be amazing because we'll all be on the same campus, and we're all gonna be getting ready and leaving from the same spot, and leaving the house to go to the same spot every day, and then leave from the same spot every day, the school, to come home. And we thought it was going to be great. And I think I just didn't quite prepare myself. It has been great, but I didn't quite prepare myself for the instantaneous switching from teacher mode to mom mode. And that switching happens like constantly, because I am a teacher and I'm also a mother. And so when I'm walking my students to lunch and I see my child, I'm instantly like being really warm and loving to my kid, and then turning back around and being a teacher. And it's just a lot of it's just a lot. Not to mention that it's a new school for all of us. Like my children, I keep on wanting to say my students, but my children haven't attended there before. Let me put on some lip gloss. My lips are feeling so dry. So the school is new to the whole Swearingen family. I think I didn't account for or anticipate the learning curve it would take for all of us. I am so used to being teacher, then kind of having a long drive, like a 30-minute drive, to decompress and to think and to reflect on my day, catch up with friends, to do a bunch of stuff, and then turn into mom and be mom for the evening. I'm so used to that routine. So this instantaneous switching back and forth, and my kids having hard moments because they're at a new school. Hard moments being like an understatement. Like, oh my goodness, it's been a little bit tough, and it's been tough on like my spirit, like questioning whether I made the right choice and if this is a good fit for us, and whether or not, we're gonna make it through this phase. I mean, it can be kind of dramatic when I'm going through a challenging moment. And so I was like, are we gonna even make it? Like, I'm like coming home and I'm upset, like visibly upset, and especially after that first week. And then it seemed like we got through the first week as a family, and from there things have gotten quite a bit more streamlined. Like every week that passes, we just finish our third week of school. So every week that passes has been just so much more comfortable and relaxed and more of a routine, and I'm not like building that new routine, and it has been so much better. But I truly 100% did not anticipate the pretty rough transition that began the school year basically. And so I was just really unsure of that. So I started off with a rough one. But it's been, like, I love seeing not my students. I love seeing my students, but I love seeing my children throughout the day. I love seeing them. I love giving them high fives. I love hugging on them. I like checking on them. It can be a little weary on my spirit. Like, it can be a little bit emotional because I am a super emotional person. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I have moments where it can be stoic, but like for the most part, like, I'm just a super emotional person, and so it affects me if my son is having a hard day, and I just didn't anticipate that. So now that I've lived through it, I know, like, at least I have some context to move forward with my life. So anyway, that's been really interesting. So it's been both challenging and good. As to wrap up that point, oh girl, you gotta like move it. You gotta move it and groove it, because I'm like, I don't know why I'm putting pressure on myself to move it and groove it. Oh, that's my alarm. That's my morning alarm. I should be waking up now. I don't know why I'm putting pressure to move it and groove it. I'm not on anybody's schedule today. I don't really need to move it and groove it. I can take my time, and I want to be here, and I want to talk to you all. I'll be right back once I've painted on my brows. The next point is in terms of the umbrella of school, like how school and teaching is going, is that I am really enjoying my class, and I'm really, really enjoying what I'm teaching. I'm very much enjoying it. I, again, have about 15 students, and it's, like, just like with any young person that you're helping raise, teach, guide, coach, there are challenging moments, but they are like such an interesting little bunch of students. They all have really fascinating and fun and like just great personalities. Like every student that I have, and I've often felt this way. I've just often taught 90 to 100 students, and so this beginning of the year portion, it sometimes takes a little while. And it takes a little while to get into the groove. And so when I have now 30 students, I've really felt like I've paid attention to how they're reacting and the way that they're behaving. And I'm not saying that I fully figured them out or anything like that, but the journey and not having to be overwhelmed by the amount of students, the journey of having less students and getting to know each one of them has been really like, it's been a pleasure. So I teach sixth grade, which is 12, 13, about that age group. And I always think that at this point, though I haven't taught younger, I've taught a little bit older, but I've not taught younger. I guess at the school I just left, I taught fifth grade. So maybe what I just said is not true. So I've taught some fifth grade, I've spent some time with third grade. This age group, sixth grade, they're really able to begin to articulate stories, things that they've gone through. They're contextualizing their lives. They're like, because I'm new at the school, and some of my own students have been there for way longer than I have. Like, they started going to the school when they were 3. And so they have so much more context of, in terms of like the history and the way the school is ran, and what's normal and what's not normal. And so it's been really interesting to get to know these students and what they can offer and their personalities. And again, it's just such a wonderful age to teach, I think, because there's a lot of I think I have a silly, my students can be a little silly, as most, sixth graders can be, but there is a sense that they really respond to adults, and they're willing to learn, and they're willing to put in the effort, and there's something really lovely about that. And because I'm just also like, it's just so layered. So I really love my students, like in the short bit. I'm really loving what I'm teaching. I, of course, whenever I start teaching something new, I always wonder if like the students are gonna get it, and I hope that I'm teaching them in a way that is helping them understand, and do I need to figure out different ways to approach the topic? And it has been really lovely because we just did our first test, and things went well. Things went well, and I was thrilled. And it's really been interesting to see like light bulbs go off when students get it, and you can just see it in their eyes, like, oh, I get it now, like that's great. And so that's been great, and that's mostly been happening with math. And then with science, we have been doing experiments, which is totally part of the curriculum. And that has been a joy. So the kids are working with their hands, and it's been really interesting to watch how students sometimes think about things in dynamic ways. Some of the students who are my rule followers, who want to do everything exactly how the instructions say, the ones that are a bit more creative in the way that they approach their experiments. So I've just been really enjoying that. And also in terms of math, it also applies for math. Some of the students who are really dynamic thinkers and really bring that multiplicity to the classroom, and really can add a lot to the conversation, and how to think about math. And so it's just been so lovely, so lovely. So in terms of students and classroom things, it's been really a joy, and I have really loved it. Okay, my camera battery needs to be changed. I am going to continue with a relatively light makeup look that I have started, and I'm going to go do a couple things, and I'll be right back. I guess one of the final things I could say about, I have 2 more things, I guess. We did have a hurricane come through, the one that hit Florida, Idalia, I believe her name was. And that was, interesting. School was canceled on Thursday. The bad weather was really between Thursday, it was Wednesday night, like Wednesday afternoon, and Thursday morning. And our area was complete, my town, my school, my house, everything turned out to be just fine. And I'm really grateful for that. though I know that we were one of the, we were some of the lucky towns, because not everybody got away from the storm unscathed. But that was some drama that happened just at the school. I mean, we had sort of an emergency. Well, was it an emergency? I'm trying to look for a mirror. We ended up cutting school short on short notice, and so it felt kind of that emergency type energy, and parents had to pick up their kids on kind of a moment's notice, which I'm so grateful that parents were able to do that and drop everything and get their kiddos. And yeah, and so then we kind of hunkered down Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and by Thursday afternoon, the weather was beautiful. It was gorgeous. I mean, you couldn't have asked for better weather. It was low humidity and sunny out and really, really beautiful by that afternoon. And so it was a really kind of interesting moment that we lived through. The final point I'll make about school is that I've been so much busier than I thought I was going to be. I think part of it is as I mentioned before, the switching of mom and teacher. My son comes to my room, I mean, per my request, while I still have a couple of students in my room. So there is like even overlap between mother and teacher. I truly don't get a break. And I think it's been a little bit weary, both like physically. It's been hard because I'm teaching all day and walking around and learning a new campus, and I'm really here, there, and everywhere. And then, emotionally, I'm just like going from teacher and trying to figure out what to do with my students. And then mom, like my kid walks in and I'm like, hey bud, how's your day? How was your day? And gratefully, very gratefully, my students are so kind to my children. They're so kind to my kids. It is precious to watch. And so, so that's been good. It's the busyness was almost, it was expected, but there was only so much you can expect from it, and then living through it is a little bit different. So I've just been busy. We've had sickness run through our house. We've had lingering sickness run through our house. And so, my energy is a bit depleted, and I made this point on purpose as the last heading for school, under the school umbrella, because it's really affected my video making in some ways, and it's affected my reading. Okay, I have to back up. Back in January, when I went back to work as a teacher for the school that I left, I was reading Middlemarch, and I was like, come hell or high water, I will finish Middlemarch. And it ended up being a really beautiful reading experience. I loved that book. I loved that book with a fiery passion. I thought it was amazing. It really kept me engaged, and I just adored it. It's my favorite read of the year. And so I was like, I'm gonna simulate that experience. I'm gonna reproduce that experience. So instead of reading a light book, which I had picked out a book that maybe would be considered garbage because we were going through a Garb August, or just a book that was a commercial fiction that didn't challenge the reader, I started Leviathan Wakes by James S. Corey, I think, James A. Corey, I don't remember, but by, Corey, Corey, I think is his last name. I'm sure I'll have a picture popping up. So here I am, I'm like, I started that, and then I got about 50 pages in, and I was like, I want a book that's gonna challenge me. I want a book that really just grips me and that I'm just sucked in. And so I went out searching for something that was a bit more literary, literary in the terms of making language, art, an art form, the sentences being purple prosy, the sentences dripping with gorgeousness, that there was a well-developed voice, and it was gonna really just get me. That was what I thought. This is what I thought I wanted. Do I even know my own self? But I was like, it works so well with Middlemarch. Now, little did I know, Middlemarch is a very special book. Middlemarch is on a different stratosphere than, most books, in my humble opinion. And if, yeah. So anyways, and I know so many comments have come in and they're like, I really want to read Middlemarch, and I understand that it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I understand that not everyone's going to love it, but I love that book. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was just fantastic, and wow. So this is what I did. I sampled a couple of books. I put Leviathan Wakes aside, and I started The Jewel in the Crown, which is the first book in the Raj Quartet by Paul Scott. And it did, it was challenging. It was challenging. It is about the lead up to partition in India, set mostly in the 1940s, and oh boy, does it talk about the culture and the dynamics between the British and the Indian and the colonization that the British were like the British power and the grip that they had on India at the time. It also discusses race. Like Paul Scott is a brilliant, I'm gonna like start putting on mascara. Paul Scott is clearly a very brilliant person and really thought extremely deeply and dynamically about race in India and what it meant and the repercussions of it and the dynamics and what those dynamics created. He thought so like so dynamically. I can't think of another word. He was able to just dance around this issue with a lot of intelligence and a lot of poise, and it comes out in his writing. So the book is, as I mentioned, is about, it's kind of like sussing out what happened when things exploded in India. Not actually exploded, but like exploded politically and emotionally. And so he's sort of taking these, he creates these letters and interviews and dialogue that is recorded about people talking about the lead up to a very specific day in which things got very dangerous and politically motivated in India. And, he's thinking about why did this happen and how did this happen, and he creates this really interesting, fascinating, layered, and like wonderfully intricate story mostly about two people. But I mean, it's so much more than that. Like, to say that it's a love story would really be like underselling it. What I didn't expect was that it was on the level of like Hilary Mantel. Paul Scott's writing is really at the level of Hilary Mantel. It's slow and thoughtful, and he makes you work for it. He really does. He's not gonna just give it to you. And sometimes it can get a little rambly, and sometimes it can get a little off pace. And I really love the book. Like, I thought the book was amazing, and I think it will stick with me for a very, very, very long time. However, I don't think that I think it was a bit too challenging to be reading at the very beginning of the school year when my energy was literally at its lowest, and when I was just struggling through the weeks to get into a routine. And it just took me so much longer. So with Middlemarch, I had this attitude of like, I don't care how long it's gonna take. I'm loving this experience. The longer, the better. Like, I had that attitude, and I don't have that attitude for most things. I usually am somebody who, about 2 weeks, if I read, even if it's like an 1,100 page book, 2 weeks is about my cutoff. Like, I want to be done with it in 2 weeks. And if it drags out longer, I start to get impatient with myself, and I can feel that. I can feel my own impatience. I can feel my own sort of angst to move on. But since I was so busy, I didn't feel super comfortable picking up another book I did, but I didn't feel super comfortable starting a bunch of new stuff because I was really busy. And I also wanted to finish because I was enjoying what I was reading, but I started to feel some angst about how long it was taking. So I hope that is making sense as to where I was contextually, where I was emotionally throughout the first couple weeks of the school year. And so it took me about 3 weeks to finish The Jewel in the Crown. Now, I absolutely think it's a great read. It was just, again, a little more than what I was asking for. And a little more than what I had anticipated at the very, very, very beginning of the year. And I own that. And I think next year when I start the school year, if I am so blessed to start the school year at this school, I think I'll start off with something either a little bit, like, it could be challenging, but it needs to be shorter. The Jewel in the Crown was like 500 pages. I mean, it wasn't even that long of a book, but it's like, he makes you work for it. You can feel that. And so, what was I going to say? It either needs to be just as challenging, but way shorter, like 150 pages. It needs to be just like something that I can pop on through. Or it needs to be just not quite that challenging. But yeah, it's really good. There's also a mini series that my friend Anita has been singing its praises through and through. That was done, maybe it's Masterpiece. I think you can just search in YouTube, like The Jewel in the Crown, and I think episodes will come up. And it's supposed to be really good. So I might, as I mentioned before, The Jewel in the Crown is the beginning of the Raj Quartet. So there's 4 books. And I don't think I'm going to pick up the next book. And if I do, it would be like during Christmas break, when I really have some chunks of time to devote to his writing and the nuances that he's bringing to the table and the way that he's thinking dynamically about race and this time, and particularly this time period of transition in India. So there we go. There we go with that. Finally, in terms of just under the umbrella of reading, I have a couple of reading projects. I have a couple of video projects as well. I am doing I think it will be a 10 days of gratitude, which will probably be up on my channel already. 10 days of gratitude, that in which I just sat down and talked for about a minute or less than 2 minutes on my channel every day, or to the camera every day, about what I'm grateful for, which I just thought was a wonderful thing to the actual practice of gratitude, and not just saying it, but putting my actions with what I want with my life. So there was that. And then I have a couple of smaller reading projects that I have been working on, and they will all come out. They're not super exciting. It's not like they're not super complex or wildly exciting, but there were some things with reading and what you can do with your reading that I wanted to try out, like I just wanted to. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about projects that have not seen the light of day yet. But yeah, just know that I am doing well, and that this time at this new school has been challenging, but in a lot of ways challenges that have been absolutely worth it, and that have really already borne fruit, which has been wonderful. And that my reading life is here, there, and everywhere. I have finished The Jewel in the Crown now, and now I'm reading like 5 books, and they're all really good. Anyhow, how are you all? I've just told you all about my life and the busyness and the craziness and the multiplicity of my own life. So it's your turn. I want to know from you. How are you all? How have you all been doing? I must know. I want to know. And yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.